I guess a lot of us need that in this country for different reasons, not just on the back of the last elections. After every election, someone will bleed, someone will laugh, but in the end, we are one people. Peace must prevail, we must heal, and we must work for a better Ghana. And that's why I'm pleased to give you Dr. Kwame Asante this morning. He's a political scientist, director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. He joins the conversation. Good morning, Doc.
Morning, Ben, and good morning, sweetie.
Hi, Doc. A lot has happened this election season. I'm eager to hear what your reflections will be this morning. I don't think I've heard anything from you yet.
He joined our team for some reflections, but at least I've not.
Saying something.
Yeah.
Doc.
Doc, go ahead.
Yes. So much. But time, because of our time, let me look at a few. NPP.
Doc, could you speak up? There's a little struggle to hear you.
Okay.
So just go ahead.
Is it better?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me look at a few factors that led to the defeat of the NPP so that it will be lesson for them and as well as the NDC who are in office. One of the factors that led to their fall was arrogance of power. Arrogance of power. They became so arrogant. The president was directing chiefs. When he's going for a deba, you have to get up and all those things. That caused annoyance to people. Even his ministers, the way they spoke, the way they conducted the affairs and all that were too annoying to some people. You remember, they said they will not hand over power to anybody. They will hand over power to themselves and all that. When the people speak, that's the end. 2, bad governance. The governance indicators were down. Take, for instance, the economy. And I tell you, all this election, the greatest of all the factors was the health of the economy. As soon as the economy goes down, it's over. Because you will not be able to deal with the problem of unemployment, which is another factor that they base their vote on. You will not be able to do much of infrastructure development because you don't have resources. So the economic factor really worked against them. But who caused them? Let me pose that question. They will not listen to wise counsel. Initially, when the difficulties started, experts were telling them they will not listen. They were telling them not to do A, B, C, and the rest of them. No, they were borrowing as if, that is how to go about it. They were so reckless in handling the economy. So we ended up at the IMF and then middle-class people with a haircut and all that. So that was one of it. Corruption. They said they fought it. They've done so much and all that. But Transparency exposed them. Transparency International. That the worst performance of Mahama was the best for Nana. So they lost the fight against corruption and a few others. Apart from that also, negative campaign. You are supposed to sell your message. But look at the advert that they ran. Was advert to attack their opponent here and there and others. Sell your message, particularly on the social media. What were they showing to the youth? Nothing. Dance gestures, songs, outdoor of party colors and all that. I'm sure they've learned a serious lesson about that. And also, the work of Dr. Baumia himself and that of Kennedy Ejapong caused their downfall. During the campaign, their primaries, you saw that a lot of things that Kennedy said. With Kennedy, I respect him for the things that he said. But you see, you have to be measured and tempered when you are dealing with internal things. Because if you destroy one of you and he emerges as victorious, he's going to lead the party. And by that time, you will not be able to repair the damage that you have caused. They said the MPP lost the election as of 2002. They said 275 constituencies, he's gone round, and then 1D, 1F virtually do not exist. They said they were strategies. They took the economy, the government from the NDC with the exchange rate of 1 to 4, and they push it to 12, 1 to 12.
Right.
They said a whole lot of things. And then, in addition to that, Bahumia, a lot of lectures that he gave, proffering ideas how to run the economy. When he came to his own turn, he couldn't manage that. So they play back his take to them. All that I want to sum up. And in my summary, before the summary, let me also chip in the fact that there was something so important that the government refused to know and then put its minds on. You see, in political science, public opinion is so critical and it manifests itself in so many ways that if you are in government, you need to watch that. One, when you see civil or public service or public servants embarking upon strike, there is a problem. And at a point in time, virtually all government workers were on strike. Two, when you see demonstrations upon demonstrations, there's a problem. When you see intellectuals talking, because in every society, those who save the society from bad governance and all that are intellectuals. When you see them out there talking, there is something you need to watch out. They didn't. And this one requires a political officer. I don't know whether they have one. And if they have, was the person working? All these signs were clear on the wall. They did not take note of this. So, in other words, they fell on their own dagger. It is a useful lesson for the party as well as the incoming government. So that next time, let me borrow the language of students, they will look sharp.
Right. Thank you so much, Doc, for those quick reflections. And let me start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the front page, government fully supports transitional process, President Akufo-Addo assures. Will renegotiate IMF World Bank deals, according to President-elect John Dramani Mahama. Return official vehicles by January 3rd, 2025. President Akufo-Addo directs appointees. And the finance minister says economy grows by 7.2% in third quarter. NPP calls on stakeholders to condemn post-election violence. And let me start from page 11 of the Daily Graphic. But the stories, I'll come back to page 3. I want to start with the economy growing by 7.2%. Ghana's economy grew by 7.2% year-on-year in the third quarter of this year, compared to 2.2% recorded in the same period last year, the Ghana Statistical Service has revealed. And the growth is the strongest since pre-pandemic levels, with the last comparable performance being a 9.1% expansion in the second quarter of 2019. On a seasonally adjusted basis, the country's real gross domestic product, that is the GDP, increased by 1.7% in quarter 3 of 2024, compared to the second quarter, slightly higher than the 1.6% recorded in quarter 2 of 2024. Doc, I'll come to you after adding 2 more stories to this. But the question on my mind is it that we are not, I know that the economy is hard. We are feeling the pinch and all that. But these figures are impressive, are they not? I'll come to you in a bit. Just give me a second. And government fully supports transitional process. The President Akufo-Addo has assured the President-elect, Mr. Mahama, of his full support and that of the government for the transitional process and beyond. That, he said, was to ensure that the next administration took off in the best of conditions. And he said it was in the interest of all Ghanaians for that to happen. And President Akufo-Addo was briefing the media after a closed-door meeting with the President-elect in Accra yesterday, explained that the Transition Act required that within 24 hours, a joint transition team be established. I mean, subsequently, it's been inaugurated, so we know that bit. And then I want to end with a story about the president asking appointees to return all official vehicles. President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has directed that no government appointee in the outgoing administration will be allowed to acquire a state vehicle. He subsequently urged all outgoing ministers, deputy ministers, regional ministers, and other political appointees to return government vehicles in their possession to the chief directors of the relevant ministries no later than Friday, January 3rd, 2025. Doc, these 3 stories for your quick reflection. But, I mean, the figures are impressive. If indeed we are recording 7.2 growth in our economy, what's happening? What's accounting for the disconnection between what they're reporting and how we are feeling or our experiences of, the economy, Doc?
Yeah, that is a very interesting question. Very, very interesting. But you see, the figures look very good.
Yeah.
That is how it ought to be, especially when you have the IMF holding a cane on your neck, telling you how to comport yourself and manage the economy. So yes, we can be happy about this. But you see, do you know my biggest worry is that I did not be in IMF. Are you sure we'll be that disciplined? We will not. We'll be that reckless. Now there is somebody with a cane on your head. So you have to do the bidding of the person. Otherwise, the next tranche of money will not come to you. It tells you that we are so reckless and careless. We don't care a hoot about how to manage the economy soundly unless we are pushed, to the brim. And that is what is happening here. And then more so, you are talking about beautiful figures. Yes. But is that the situation out there? The ordinary man is feeling the pinch of the harsh economic realities of the time. And that is why they voted the way they did. So if the economy was anything to go by, then the story would have changed in terms of voting. So yes, it tells you the disconnect between figures and what really exists on the market. The second thing is the issue of return of official vehicles.
Yeah.
I support the call by the president. It's a good thing. But, parties have taken us for ride. And you see them, changing cars, giving it to party apparatchiks and all that. That thing must cease and must cease now. And I'm happy the president has nailed it. Yes, we will make sure that nobody will take anybody's car, government car away. That period where they come to office, when they are leaving office, they sell state vehicles to them. If they want cars, they should go to Toyota and the rest of them. We all struggle to buy a car. After all, if you don't have a car, you have to walk. It's normal, or go by public transport. So that is a good call. I support the president, and it should be enforced rigidly by state authorities, not any other individual who doesn't have that mandate. No. 2 or 3, we'll look at issue of post-election violence. It's a worrying situation if you see destruction going on and all that. People begin to, talk so much about it because it's of concern to us. Because these are the things that go into election observers' report, and it becomes an indictment for the country. So I want people to know that we have gone through election peacefully. Let us manage the third phase of it. That is, election has 3 phases: before, during, and after election. The after election phase is what we are in. Let it be peaceful. So all those who are engaging in that, the police must look for them and then deal with them head on. I mean, they are nothing but criminals. You can't destroy state property and all that. What do you want the new government to govern with? And but I must say that political parties have developed this. Part of the blame must be placed at their doorstep. Anytime after elections, people destroy things and all that, and we arrest them, they only come and set them free and all that. So people are emboldened to misbehave in this fashion. But it's not going to continue. This time, we are going to nip it in the bud, and we are not going to allow that at all. At all. More so when we have a government that has virtually is going to struggle because of where we are financially and all that. This will not happen on our watch this time around. No. The next point is the transitional process. Yeah. Transitional teams are very important after elections because they play very important roles. One, they equip the new government with the knowledge that exists within the public sphere and to let them know the focus and direction that government ought to take. And it also helps to set the tone for how the new executive ought to perform. But apart from all this, they highlight key leadership priorities. So all these processes, the NDC is going to be equipped with a lot of knowledge. And I am happy that if you see the teams from both sides, they are men and women of substance, that they know the terrain so well, so that at the end of the day, JM will be equipped with the information that he needs to be able to do his work. So we wish them all the best, and they should quicken the process so that we move to another level. So, so far, I think we are on course, except the violence which is happening. But I know that the security will deal with it. The security has not been able to deal with these things because political parties, more often than not, set these boys free, and the police want to be careful so as not to incur the wrath of those in authority. But when we urge the police to act, they will act. And we as a society, we must take great lessons for it. Every time we go for election, we try to deal with some of our problems we have. And eventually we end up compounding the problem with another one. We started off with ballot snatching. People were snatching ballots. We move on to what people were using macho men to disrupt elections. We also experienced militias who were also taking part in elections. And last two elections, you recall, 2020, people were they were shooting people and all that. And this time around, you see another layer that we have introduced in this country. We must sit down and look at all these things and see how we address them permanently.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. There's a story here, but I think I'll find, Ben, you might have it as well, about renegotiation of the IMF and World Bank deals, but let's do your paper.
I mean, I was about to mention that I've not seen it technically here, but I was even about to say that Mahama had pointed to. So you might as well.
Right, okay, so let me get into it. So the president-elect said he will renegotiate IMF World Bank deals. President-elect John Dramani Mahama has indicated that his government will review and adjust existing agreements with Ghana's development partners to better meet the needs of the public. Quote, "I don't kid myself that it is going to be an easy task. It is going to be quite tough. I anticipated that we were going to win, but I didn't anticipate the margin by which we were going to win." And let me just skip to the bit where he says, Mr. Mahama said Ghana needed global community more than ever before, quote, "because of the crisis we still face or are going through." Yeah, so those are just some of the things. Yes, I wanted to get this out. We look forward to working with you, looking at the existing programs. We need to tweak them to meet the realities of today. I believe we've had discussions with the World Bank and the IMF already, and we look to an early engagement so that we can continue to be on the same wavelength. I don't know what you make of it, but every time the NDC says they'll review something, opposition makes it sound like they want to completely remove it or withdraw, you know. But Doc, just a quick reflection before we go to Ben on this.
Yes, I think that's the right direction GM want to use. Because if you look at the conditions and everything associated with our interaction with the two Bretton Woods institutions, there's a need to take a second look of it and see how you can craft it to suit your style and administration and what you have promised the people. So I'm not sure it is out of order for JM. He must be able to do it and do it quickly and get busy on the ground, because this time around, we are also going to put pressure on him so that he would do the needful. Because what the people have done tells you clearly that if you go to the contrary, there is a big cane waiting for you. And I love the expression of the will of the people in the form of what? How they exercise their franchise. We are growing as a democracy, and I love that.
Would you agree that we have more expectations of the incoming administration than the outgoing one? It appears, yeah, it appears the expectations for this administration, the incoming one, is so high.
Yes, that is how it had to be. We have to move from one level to another. More expectations. Yeah. We expect the government to be able to fix this economy in no time. Honeymoon, we are not going to grant the government that. We are too hungry to wait for honeymoon. By the time he returns, we are all dead and gone. He knows that.
Hopefully not.
We are hitting the ground running now. We need jobs for our people. Right. And there is a way out. NPP, I was so surprised. I was out there talking about how we can address some of the unemployment problems. But he, Mahama, is an experienced person. He should be able to walk his way through all these things. Health, we must address that head on and let Dumso, the problem. He actually fixed Dumso before leaving office, the things that he put in. He should be back, and then let us see the end of Dumso. And one thing we are looking forward to hearing from him, that we need our money back from the cathedral in Pualugu Dam. That we can promise him. We need that.
Okay.
We need that.
Thank you, Doug. Ben, let's do your paper now.
Well, if you, and talking about responsibility, if you go to 2016, the expectations were very high as well, and it's none too different. But if you look at even the spread at the bottom of your television screen, actually, when you look at 185.77, you'd be looking at 262 constituencies. It tells you that overwhelmingly, the people have voted in a certain direction, and so overwhelmingly, there is high responsibility that the incoming administration cannot run away from. That is not to say they should not be given room to breathe, because like I've said, it's like an addiction. If you take a month to form an addiction, it will not take you anything less to kick, off an addiction. We don't have that much time, but of course, these are some things. I just wanted to quickly chip into the macroeconomy, microeconomy situation. Of course, the microeconomy is dependent on the macroeconomy, the broader picture, but sometimes it takes time to trickle down. What our leaders don't do is put in place the right measures sustained over time so that people will start feeling the effects. They like doing a little macro, then they'll splash it there. Oh, GDP and the economy grows by and all of that. But if it's not sustained, it will not trickle down to the chocho at Obrasport so that she will feel it in her pocket. And that actually is why sometimes you see these highfalutin figures, but down there, nobody is feeling the advantage. Just finally, Doc, when you made mention of the vehicle, some people auction to themselves and all of that, dirt cheap vehicles after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It reminded me of this culture we have in this country. I don't know why. If people can come into government, you don't need that V8 unless you're traveling a lot around the country. You could use a saloon car. There was this department, I've forgotten whether it's the Controller and Accountant Generals. They were complaining, I think some 2 years ago, that, other departmental heads or something of the sort had V8s and their leaders had been given Toyota Camrys. I'm talking of whether 2022 or something, Toyota Camrys. This is the mentality. So it is what it is. But let me quickly get into the Daily Guide newspaper. Media hailed for elections coverage. Roman father congratulates Mahama. I'm talking about the one who had wanted to stand in the stead of Akufo-Addo. May her soul rest in peace, for the Ghana Freedom Party. CSOs commend IGP's anti-violence strategy. And really, the IGP did quite a bit to maintain sanity. He still is on the back of some of the post-election incidents. We salute him. Don't retain state cars. Akufo-Addo to appointees. Reverse illegal declarations. NPP to EC. On this reversal, right, there's one thing I may forget, lest I forget. When Frank Anodompre, and by the way, those people who stormed Parliament, the extension at the Accra International Conference Center, were from Nsawam Eduadjuri, MPP, who stormed Parliament back then. I don't even get his rhetoric, and I'm calling him out this morning. What do you mean by the transitional process should halt till all of these are declared, the parliamentary seats? You have no such power. No such power. Sometimes we have to call a spade a spade. People go around passing comments as though it doesn't matter whether this person were NDC or MPP. You don't have any such power to say that the transitional process shouldn't go on because you feel aggrieved as a parliamentary candidate. These people we elect should start knowing their size. We have the power, not them. And such, puerile rhetoric should be condemned in no uncertain terms.
Ben, let me add, it's nothing but ugly noise.
Ugly noise, eh?
He has no power. Electoral Commission has declared, has declared Mahama as winner. Nothing more, nothing else. He can weep in his room. The new government is going to take off. We are also going to make sure that they do the needful. That's it. Whoever is not interested or is affected one way or the other by the election process, go to court and seek redress.
Exactly. I mean, if you feel aggrieved, the High Court is the best place to go. So, Anodompre, you know the way to the High Court. You have my support for smooth transition, Nana tells Mahama. So let me just quickly do these and then we'll be done. President Nana Akufo-Addo has assured the President-elect John Dramani Mahama of his unwavering support to ensure a smooth and peaceful transition of power. According to him, this is essential to maintain a unified approach to governance. He made the statement when Mr. Mahama paid a courtesy call on him at the Jubilee House yesterday. We've delved into this, so I will not expatiate too broadly on that. CSOs commend IGP's anti-violence strategy. I've commended him for that. Then, before I go to the international front, the Media Coalition Ghana, comprising the Ghana Journalists Association, the Ghana Broadcasters Association, Private Newspapers and Online News Publishers Association of Ghana, and New Media Association of Ghana, has commended media practitioners for their work in promoting transparency, accountability, and civic discourse throughout the electoral processes. Despite some regrettable and avoidable challenges, including the loss of lives that occurred in some parts of the country, the Media Coalition reports that the election processes have been generally peaceful, and that is a feather in our cap. I mean, we have to also it was not easy. Sure. Dawn, morning, evening, night, you are here. It was not easy. So salutes to all of those who made this happen in the media. Prince David Osei apologizes over campaign remarks. You see, I heard his comments about, he called the former president, who is now the incoming president. I don't know whether to use that word, but someone who drinks and gets to the point of intoxication. I will not repeat that particular word he drank. And now he comes to say, oh, his cousins and brothers were using his phone on social media, and that's why. I think sometimes if you've made a mistake, just own up to it or don't say anything. But don't insult the intelligence of people. Sometimes for political reasons, people say all kinds of things. If you said it, you said it. Don't try to appear to be something you are not. It makes people think you are trying to take them for a fool. And it makes you look silly, you know. So just free advice for Prince David. Or say, if you play a certain game and later you get your fingers burnt, don't try pretending we are fools, that you can tell us your cousins and your brothers and stuff were with your phone. Are we children in this country? ECOWAS Observer Mission commends Bawumia and others. The Election Observer Mission of the Economic Community of West African States has commended the presidential candidates of the political parties, particularly Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, for upholding their commitments under the Peace Pact signed ahead of last Saturday's election. Supreme Court throws out suit against OSP Act. And the Supreme Court yesterday dismissed a review application by the editor-in-chief of the Daily Searchlight newspaper, Kenneth Kwabena J. Kranche, challenging the constitutionality of the office of the special prosecutor. And mind you, the special prosecutor has security of tenure. So no talk about replacement. He's like a high court judge, and I believe, and as far as he is there, unless he resigns like Martin Alamisi Benz Kaiser Amidou did, he remains at post or commits some offense that warrants his removal. And we know there was such a claim at some point. 4 arrested for stealing Agenda 111 building materials. It's sad the way we do this. It happened to Saglimi. Now it's happening here. It says the Ghana Police Service has arrested 4 individuals on December 10, 2024, for allegedly stealing building materials intended for the construction of the Agenda 111 hospital at Ewutu Breku in the Central Region. This arrest was done through a joint operation between the police and members of the Ewutu Breku community. And that's what ought to be done, community vigilance. Nigerians in Ghana commend EC for credible polls. And Ghana's first female VP deserves nationwide celebration. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. Your thoughts on these?
A lot of items on my table. Very interesting ones. I'll start with Prince Osei. You know what? Look, all that I'll say to him that don't treat people, treat people with respect so that you don't apologize to them unnecessarily. Treat people with respect so that you don't, apologize to them unnecessarily. This apology is unnecessary. We don't want to know. We don't want to hear about that. Next time, you should think before you act and respect your leaders. Even if you have something against him, the way you communicate, your language must be civil and decorous. And you don't need to insult and attack, only to turn around and now that he's president-elect, you want to save yourself or not. We don't want to know. But I leave him with a message. Treat people with respect so that you don't apologize to them unnecessarily. This is unnecessary apology. But he's not a man enough. He has said so much. He should have been courageous enough to die on his dagger. A man is the one who falls on a dagger and dies. So he should have gotten that courage. I move on to look at the media and elections. And I salute my colleagues in the fraternity. They did a lot of work. I visited a number of media houses because we're doing analysis, and I came to Joy Newsroom, and mine, I see people did not have beds in their home. They are there, ready to churn out information, send people. Congratulations to all my colleagues and all that. This is how it ought to be. Now, EC has known that that decision that he wanted to take to prevent journalists from going to see this election, nobody should think along those lines. It's not the best. Allow media access. You see, when we say transparency in political science, we are saying that what you are doing must be made public, and people should have access to information. Access. And that is what was missing. I am happy later they made a U-turn and then ate humble pie. That is how it ought to be. The media did a lot, and they shine their light on dark spots, and we are happy. They should continue to work the way. When they go wrong, we will correct them because it's a human institution. Civil society condemning, violence and all that. That is how it ought to be. The violence must be condemned because I am particularly worried about what will go into the Observer Missions report, which will be material for students and the world to look at. And please, we should stay away from that. We have done so. We have comported ourselves throughout the process. I want us to get to the finish line, the logical conclusion. So events of violence and all that, we don't want that. Remember, we are operating a free and fair election. We're saying that it's no other election, but election devoid of irregularities, such as violence, destruction, and all that. We don't want that. And then the issue of the VIP. I salute the VIP. This is easy. Sometimes Ghanaian politics is so funny, and we need to grow out of that. When this woman showed up to contest and all that, a lot of negative statements were made against. I recall a day I called people out that if they believe that the woman is not good, people should go around their families and get anybody who is more qualified than the woman to hand the person over to Dr. Baumia to compete with the woman. Yes, I was daring them. This is the first woman vice-chancellor, a first woman vice president. We salute her. And let us respect hard work. Women struggle in this country to get far. So when they do, we don't need to bring them down. No. Anytime I drive around, I see women. I see, male and female there, but I pay more attention to women because of the things they go through. Difficult time. You see the baby at the back, you see holding children's hand and still trying to fend for them. So if a woman goes through all this and hit the highest at the university, which is a microcosm of the country, and moves on to, venture into the arena of politics, which is so hostile, and then get to this level, you don't sit down and make ugly noises about her. If you have anything, it should be argument, discuss, bring a superior mind to bear on any conversation that is coming from her. That is what we need. But mere attacks, insult, and silly comments must end today.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll just leave you with headlines from the international front. At least 127 killed in Sudan bombardments. South Korea ex-defense minister tries to take his own life. And girl 11 rescued in Mediterranean after 3 days clinging to tire tubes. And then Russia threatens to retaliate after Ukrainian attackers strike in Rostov. All those in the Daily Guide newspaper. Sweetie?
I have the business analyst on the front page. Don't purchase government vehicles. We've dealt with that. President Akufo-Addo warns Mahama to renegotiate IMF World Bank deals. Dr. Callistus Mahama is this chief scribe of John Mahama's transition team. Arrest all officials at Lands Commission. They are behind the state capture. Answer Asari to Mahama. And I'll get to that story in a bit. But there's a story here that my interest with Zubebra, Joy News channel manager, talks about increase in the price of coffee. And I want to get to that in a bit. Coffee price surges to highest on record. And this is page 2 of the business analyst. Coffee drinkers may soon see their morning treat get more expensive as the price of coffee on the international commodity markets has hit its highest level on record. On Tuesday, the price for Arabica beans, which accounts for most global production, topped $3.44 a pound, having jumped more than 80% this year. And the cost of Robusta beans, meanwhile, hit a fresh high in September. And it's coming as coffee traders expect crops to shrink after the world's two largest producers, Brazil and Vietnam, were hit by bad weather, and the drink's popularity continues to grow. Hopefully, it's not too expensive that we can't enjoy coffee. But there's a story here about Kweku Ansasari asking that all officials at the Lands Commission be arrested. Legal luminary and statesman Kweku Ansasari has called on President-elect John Dramani Mahama to prosecute officials of the Lands Commission when he assumes office. According to him, the officials of the Lands Commission are the main people behind what he describes as the looting and capturing of state lands and properties. And this was happening on a sister channel. I don't know what you make of that. Let me get through the headlines quickly and then I'll come to you, Doc. Implications of foreign direct investment for the shipping sector in Ghana. It's an editorial. Ghana others to benefit from $150 million after risk participation facility. And General, how do you keep yourself busy in retirement? And that's a feature. And understanding the 5 steps of the design thinking process. Last thing I want to do is Africa registers $29.2 billion investment interest in 3 days. About $29.2 billion investment interest have been registered in 3 days for various projects in Africa as the continent turns its needs into bankable and beneficial opportunities for investors. The investment interests were realigned from 37 projects in 41 boardroom meetings in 3 days at the just ended 2024 Africa Investment Forum Markets Days in Rabat, Morocco. Doc, these are my last stories for you.
I will begin with my uncle Ansasari's story on Lands Commission. And he is calling on the government, the new government, to do the needful. In governance, once you clear one party leaves office, it is important that police people who held public offices are held to account. I mean, if you read our constitution, the preamble, we said we believe in so many things, including what? Probity, accountability, transparency, and all that. Yeah. So this is in line with this. People who have, were giving public office, come and render account for your actions and inactions. Nothing should worry anybody if you did the right thing. So it's a good call. And I want to extend it to the whole government, that they should do what, money for, value audits in all those places, Cathedral, Walugu Dam, and the rest of them, so that the little money we have, we will always safeguard it and make sure that anybody coming to public office, you are not coming to enrich yourself. Let me borrow Nana Akufo-Addo's phrase, saying that, look, if you are coming for money in the public office, think twice, go out there. All right. And I support that. And that is, if you read the good governance concepts, part of it is this, that we want to make sure that the public service is not only efficient, but most effective. And in that, we fight against corruption and all that. So it's in line with a lot of things. Our constitution, Transparency International things, and then good governance concept. So it's a good thing. The issue of coffee, which you were worried about, prices were going out. There are people who are lovers of coffee.
Myself
and all
included.
That. Yes. I am not part. In the morning,
I am not part either, Dr. Kwame Asante. I react badly to coffee, so.
Yes. I go for kokunte or benku. But those, we are talking about food though.
Abetie.
Yes.
You go for chayaman.
Yes.
Well, Doc, it starts with coffee, then it sets the tone for the kokunte and the...
No, I respect that. But I will give you an alternative, which is easy to afford. And it's cocoa. Cocoa. Make do with cocoa in absence of coffee. This is what we have. And I can assure you, you will enjoy it. You will enjoy it. Cocoa, is there a lot here. So you don't have a problem at all.
Right.
The 29.2 billion investment that we are receiving in Africa within 3 days of 37 projects. Beautiful one. But I want it to reflect on our lives. We should be able to feel the benefit of it. Sometimes a lot of these things are on paper, and the ordinary man is far away from this. We want the ordinary man to feel it, so that at the end of the day, we can say that we benefited from this. Otherwise, it will only end as nothing but an academic exercise. This time around, we want to feel it. We want to feel it. Yes.
Right. Thank you, Doc. We have about 2 minutes.
I'll wrap just in a few seconds with these headlines. Hopefully, we'll not get any reactions, and then I'll just share something brief and we're gone. The New Republic, after claiming he would never hand over to the NDC, JM anointed before his, quote, enemy, as Nana-Addo welcomes him back to the Jubilee House. I think maybe we could have avoided this headline, but the paper chooses to use it on the back of, I believe, Psalms 23, anointed before his, and they use enemy in quotation marks. Jean Mensah hot as EC staff recruiter vanishes with agents' money. That doesn't look good. NPP appointees at ECG on final looting spree. That's what the paper says. And NPP's cataclysmic defeat. Subin MP blames Akufo-Addo's intransigence. But I want to highlight this for you. My faith in humanity has been strengthened. I spoke to this old woman as part of an interaction at the Obra Sport Trotro station, Chocho, Yomo Chocho, and the response has been wonderful. A number of you have reached out, Ghanaians, some from the US, Australia, and other parts of the world. And I've also reached out to a few people in the UK who are trying to help. It's briefly about a 66-year-old, if you've not seen the tape, hawking. She's old, she's sick, she's fragile. She's trying to eke out a living by hawking sachet water. And so we are trying to do something for her. If you'd like more information about how you can help, you can reach out. You can also call 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691, or drop us a message on any of our live streams as we go along the show. We're trying to aggregate everything, and we'll do something great for this woman. There will be full transparency, full accountability. So let's help Yomo Chocho. That's my final bit to you, sweetie.
Right, we have
Ben,
to...
let me touch on it briefly. You see, when I see things of this nature, I get worried because then we are not get the basis of our governance right. You've seen this. You, Joy FM, you also saved the life of the little girl who was going through kidney problems, and through that, Mahama's brother came in and all that. It tells you that, look, there's a missing link. You go to other jurisdictions, what they do is that they have support for people like this, and they don't need to be on air to get support. What do we have here? When you are old in this country, you must prepare yourself for anything that will happen to you because the state is not there. It shouldn't be so. The money that we waste through a lot of careless programs and all that, we could channel them into this. These are meaningful ventures, and stop wasting state money. I'll end my submissions on the issue of that story you talk. We will not hand over them. I will not go into that story, but I want to take a lesson from it, that when politicians are talking, they should be careful. All right. I caution them. Brian Champong and Co, who are talking, will not hand over. It doesn't lie in your mouth. Democracy is called demos, people. Krasi comes from the word kratos. It means what? Government. The government of the people. When the people speak, you are nobody.
Thank you so much. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante there. He's a political scientist and he heads the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Please stay because sports comes right up next on the AM show.